company that donated to the mayor, signed by Bill Young, who didn't technically have the authority to sign unless the mayor gave him that authority. And all this didn't come up to the public until the press released it. Just for the record. You know what, Jim Bean rule, I'm not voting on money you already paid, I'm saying.
Councilman Nicholas?
Yes.
I'm back. Next, a resolution permitting special events or special permits for social affairs for the Belmar Fishing Club. Councilwoman Nicolay, you must recuse yourself.
I'm a fisherman.
Musical chairs. I will offer and move for its adoption.
Second.
Councilman Devaney?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Mayor Darrell?
Yes. You may come back.
Do I have to?
Next is our consent agenda. I will offer and move for adoption of the entire consent agenda.
Second.
Councilman Devaney?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman Nicholas?
Yes.
Mayor Darrell?
Yes. Next are our ordinances. This is first reading introduction ordinance 2013-17, ordinance of the mayor and borough council of the borough of Belmar, Belmar County, adopting the boardwalk redevelopment plan. This is for first reading and introduction. So I am offering it for first reading and introduction, so I need a second.
Second.
Councilman Devaney?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
No.
Councilman Nicholas?
Yes.
Mayor Darrell?
Yes. We're being here. Next is second reading and public hearing, ordinance 2013-14, ordinance amending and supplementing chapter 60? Development regulations of the revised general ordinances of the borough of Belmar pertaining to garages and driveways. This is now open for public hearing. Before you have public hearing, I was not at the planning board meeting where they made some changes, but Councilman McGovern was. If you want to talk about what some of those changes were.
The biggest change was there was actually a loophole with the way what was taken out. It would have allowed someone to put, let's say, pavers in their front lawn next to their driveway, and then be able to use that patio as a parking space. And what brought it up was my neighbor directly across the street. That's exactly what he was doing. Until I walked across the street and said, you know, you're not allowed to park in your front lawn. He goes, well, I'm putting a patio in. And we had a planning board meeting. We changed it, and he has since sodded it over and now plans on just parking in his driveway. So there was that loophole that we closed up, and I think it's to the advantage of Belmar not to allow someone to pave part of their front lawn and use it as a parking spot.
Okay. Does everyone, other members of the council understand why they asked for that very minor change?
Yes.
Okay. And I think the other part was the setbacks as far as keeping it even with the front of the house. In other words,
Right.
not to have the garage protrude past the front of the house.
That also, yeah.
Okay. So I just wanted to clarify that in case anyone had any questions, since it was minor changes, but not significant for this. So this is open for public hearing. If anyone has public comments, questions on this ordinance? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Next, I will offer and move for adoption, 2013-14.
Second.
Councilman Devaney?
Yes.
Councilman McGovern?
Yes.
Councilman Dean?
Yes.
Councilman Nicholas?
Yes.
Mayor Darrell?
Yes! That concludes our resolutions and ordinances. So now we have public session. Public session is very simple. If you'd like to make a comment, question, gripe, concern, complaint, just raise your hand, wait to be called on, come up to the microphone. You get a full 5 minutes, and then we have to sit down and let someone else come up and speak. Gene, you have your hand up?
Gene Kramer, Fourth Avenue. First, I want to thank Colleen for getting me some information that I requested last week, and I'll take a look at it. Thank you very much. Mayor, may be inappropriate because it was just introduced tonight. Ordinance 2013-17. I guess I do want to make a comment on it, if that's possible.
Sure, public comment.
Okay. Paragraph number 2, the description of the boardwalk study area. There's a typo or two, plus it's wrong. The boardwalk ends not at Lake Como, but at Spring Lake. This should be corrected here. Lake Como is about, you have to go all the way over to B Street to get to Lake Como. And so I would replace Lake Como with Spring Lake. And also the westerly, what it says here, westerly edge or the road bed. Usually when you're describing property, I think the author really meant the westerly edge of the road bed of Ocean Avenue. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And I apologize, but our attorney, once I saw there was no public comment, we had to go home, otherwise he bills us for it. Otherwise I didn't address your concerns tonight. But,
I think Lake Como referred to bottled water.
Yeah, not the town.
Yeah.
we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll clarify.
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, the study area, or I should say that, how could you have lot 3, lot 3? The property line there is the municipal boundary of Spring Lake.
We'll make sure it's out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mark Fitzgerald, 1902 Surf Avenue here in Belmar. A couple of matters I just wanted to mention briefly. And Jim, I say this with all due respect, because a lot of times you do bring up some valid points. However, the time we spent earlier tonight, the council's time and everyone in the audience's time, to argue the point, I guess on principle, of a vote that went against 4-0, and a ruling was against allowing that vote for your own protection, as the attorney pointed out. At some point, it's over and let it go. It really doesn't help your stature or anyone's stature to continue to beat, this type of dead horse. So, you lose a little respect, in my eyes, and I do respect you, but with things like that, it's hard to take the other point seriously when it gets degraded by such an argument that you made earlier tonight.
May I comment on that?
I would imagine, yes, sure.
If council has the ability to block my vote for what he says my protection, you gotta take this to the extreme, and he could block my vote for anything, saying it's for my own protection. And I know he'll say, I'll never do that, but the fact of the matter is, he's here for guidance. He doesn't have the authority.
I understand the principle, you appealed it, it ruled against you, that's the end, it should be the end of it, especially in a vote that your vote didn't teeter the decision. So, just in the interest of government efficiency, which I think you're in favor of at some point, it's just time to say, well, you know what, I fought the good fight and I lost it. The second point I'd like to bring up is the Avon Boardwalk that was raised up earlier, that was discussed earlier. The boardwalk itself is at the identical height of the previous boardwalk for the most part. There's one small section that they ramped up to where the pavilion's located to give it an additional, I believe, an additional 2 feet. So there's a distinction between that and the plan that we have for our pavilions, which is the boardwalk was returned to its previous height, except that to get to the elevated height, and by the way, the Avon Pavilion is also in the V zone, to get to the new height, we're just going to have either additional steps or more rampage. So I just wanted to clarify that because I think it's a little bit of misinformation if Avon is being put forward as having done something better than we did, resulting in them getting funding. For clarity's sake, that's just not the case. Our height is going to be totally appropriate for a V-zone installation, just the way Avon's Pavilion is going to be. It's just that ramp up, they're going to have to forego maybe 2 steps, which we're going to have.
Is that,
That's factual.
where'd you get that?
From the engineers that did both the Avon Boardwalk and our boardwalk while they were being built.
I look forward to the 90%. I do. I think that's great.
Hopefully that will be true.
Good. That's great.
Okay. The next item I wanted to mention was, I think there's a need to refocus attention on protecting the property in town. I think we're dealing with a lot of, very positive things and positive improvements, but the Lake Como flooding and getting a beachfront bulkhead to protect the $7 or $9 or $10 million boardwalk that we built has to be at the top of this council's priority list. And sometimes I just see it slipping to the background and other matters, coming to the forefront. And I just really want to ask, there's a huge swath of neighborhood that's still at risk for the next hurricane. So I ask that somehow this get more to the forefront. I know I missed a meeting where they're going to open the drain, but other than that, there has not really been any action here.
Well, we're still working with FEMA on the dune systems that form a hazard mitigation. I will tell you that one of the frustrating things we're learning is that FEMA changes people out. So in other words, we sent them a whole load of plans, and we worked with folks. Those folks left, new folks came in, and we said, well, what do you think about the plans? And they said, we have no idea what you're talking about. So in some circumstances with FEMA, we're starting from square one all over again, even though we've been working with them on the same thing for 6 months because someone different's there. And I'll also say that, we are going to start getting beach replenishment from the Army Corps of Engineers beginning in January. And it's going to be more towards the southern part of town than the northern part of town, which again makes sense because, look at La Dolce Vita, it did fine. You look at DJ's, it got crushed because it's so narrow down where you live. And we passed a resolution at our last council meeting, so did Lake Como, to start forming a commission to move forward on fixing Lake Como, the lake. No one can fix the town. To fix the lake, and that's a big process.
Okay. Did the interlocal agreement pass for the emergency procedures in the event of a storm?
It did here and at Lake Como, not yet at Smarza and Springland.
And is that somehow being like scheduled or insisted that a decision get made, in the near term?
We talked recently,
And-
with this guy.
And how about the repairs to enlarging the intake on the outflow pipe?
My understanding was it was to
Intake
commence
for now?
early next week.
Yeah, but that's your, but she can, why don't you email Mark?
Yeah,
most recent
That would be
stuff.
great. And last, in light of all of, the more critical things that are going on, I hate to bring up a more minor point, but there's a parking issue in many sections of town during the summer. And for some reason, it became de rigueur to allow yourself to block your own driveway. And while that may be okay on some of the wider streets, certainly on my end of town, I believe this is a fire hazard when people block their own driveway. And they're parked there for the entire weekend. It isn't just a temporary thing where block the driveway while your visitor's there and then pull away. It's block your driveway and leave it there for 4 days, okay? In the most crowded weekends, in the most dangerous time of a fire hazard where fire trucks and access to fire hydrants is now going to be blocked,
And
okay?
I don't mean to cut you off, that's way beyond 5 minutes.
You get this up, you don't want to talk about my times. If I was complimenting you how well, how happy we are about the marine, I could go on and on, I would think, right? But seriously, I would ask that somehow that get to an agenda item somewhere, because I do believe it's a fire hazard for the tighter neighborhoods.
Yes, or please call.
Actually, Bob Huff is going to grab you for a minute to talk about that.
Okay, thank you and I do compliment you. The marina building and success on that contract, that's wonderful, and look forward to getting the pavilions built as well. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mark. Yes, Gene?
Hi, my name is Gene Murray. I live at 710 8th Avenue, Belmar. I made a mistake on election day. I went in to vote with 4 or 5 people from the building. And when I came out, I was approached by somebody with a petition. And they said it was for the pavilion. And I assumed it was the one that would, that the board had voted on. And it was my fault. I didn't read it. I was in a hurry. I was with a friend. And so I said, well, it's for the pavilion. That's what I'm for. I'm for that. I'm for what you guys, were suggesting. So I signed the petition. And then I found out, I wasn't going to say nothing. And then I found out that the people were out there, they shouldn't have been out there. So then I didn't feel too stupid, I said, oh God, let me go. So I went and saw April, and I filed a complaint. I want to get my name and my friend's name off that petition, because when we were approached, we weren't told, And it's my fault too, because I didn't ask. I didn't read it. I thought it was for the good of the town, and I thought it was a pavilion, so I just signed it. And it was a mistake. So I just want to get my name off the pavilion, off the list there. And I gave April my real mistake.
Where exactly were you asked to sign? Where in the building were you asked to
No,
sign?
outside, right outside the door.
Right outside this door?
No, out in the street, right outside the door as you go out to see. Oh, they were standing there, two of them were standing there with a petition.
How far away is legal for that?
100 feet.
Is that 100 feet? It's not 100 feet.
And a couple of the people said no, they wouldn't sign it. You know, well, I had a person here that did sign it too. I said, yeah, that's for the, you know, it's for a good cause, and so, you know, we'll
So
sign
you
it.
thought it was to support?
Yes, yes, I absolutely thought it was, you know.
So
And-
it was not legally within the distance required? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's what we're being told by the county elections.
Right, and that's what I
County
heard.
elections have that?
And that's why I brought it up. I didn't, I signed it. I shouldn't have signed it. You know what I mean? I should have read it. I should have read it. I shouldn't have signed it, but they shouldn't have been there.
Well, they were not in a spot that was
Right,
correct.
yes,
From
they
what
said
I'm
it
hearing,
wasn't, yes, they said it wasn't 100
We
feet.
heard this.
Well, I mean, I didn't see, was there any members of the council? I mean, I think we all.
Yes, I was approached in the Main Street, right outside the doors, by one of the people asking me to sign the petition.
You know, they were at the back door too.
But I read it, Gene.
Yes,
I didn't
yes,
sign
well,
it, Gene.
I see
But
you're a
no.
councilman, I'm only a committee man.
These people were clearly, and the person that asked me had just come out of the building. So the door, we were right there. So, I mean, they're clearly in violation of the polling area.
Well, we'll have our clerk who handles elections, look into this, and she'll report back to you.
Oh, good. And do I have a couple of minutes?
You got, minute 30 seconds.
A minute and 30 seconds, okay. I got a call from my sister 2 weeks ago. She lives in Bricktown. And she got on her phone and she said to me, she said, what's going on in Belmar? You know, it seems to me, she says, there's an awful lot of hatred in Belmar. People, the way people are, you know, the way people are talking. I says, what are you talking about? She says, get the Co-Star. So I got the Co-Star and I read the Co-Star, and then it called you, Claire and some governor here, rubber stamps. And then it called the mayor a dictator. Now, a dictator, the first thing that comes to my mind is Hitler, Stalin, Mussolini. My opinion is that's the opinion of a dictator, Osama bin Laden. But you know, if you have something to say about somebody, my God, you don't be using that kind of language. We all got troubles. But God Almighty, to use that kind of language to call a man a dictator, it's just, to me, it's ridiculous.
Inappropriate.
It's inappropriate, and his children can read the paper, and you two guys, the 3, 4 of you, doing your best. You're up here every meeting. You got family problems home, we all know that. People are sick in your house, and, you know, and it's just,
Gene, just let me explain.
you're there.
Let me just say that I do not rubber stamp anything that Matt wants me to do. We talk, we communicate. He calls me on the phone. He texted me today during my gym class. Talk to him in person. I do not always agree with Matt says. We talk about it
Right.
behind it. By the time we get up here and have the resolution, I see my influence on that resolution or that ordinance. Do I totally agree with on there? No, but there's certainly enough of it for me to support so that when you people come to a council meeting, you don't see a council in disarray, disorganized, fighting with one another. We communicate, not secretly, we communicate with each other. I talk to Claire, I talk to Jen. I really don't, I don't know, I don't have Jen's phone number or anything, but I go down to the office, I'll sit a couple times a week in Colleen's office and say, Colleen, bring me up to speed, what's going on right now? and she gives me all the information I need, so that when I come to this meeting, if I disagree with Matt, we're clear, I vote no. But for most part, I agree, and I support the mayor, and I think it makes the council look better, and it makes the last 3 years, we've done real well in Belmar the last 3 years, because you have a council that supports the mayor.
Also, I'd just like to comment, since you did mention me. It's an insult to my intelligence for people to say I rubber stamp the vote. I understand what the issue is. I have voted against the mayor twice. Not a big deal, but I felt strongly about that. So to say, somebody wrote a letter to the co-stars mentioning that, and it really is not true. I make my own decisions. Why would I vote against something I support? You know, I don't understand that thinking at all. Why would I vote against the mayor in all the good things that we've accomplished? So that makes no sense to me at all. And the letter in the co-star was very poorly addressed with regard to how people vote on this council. I always vote what I think is best for the town. I didn't twice in my career, but I support what's going on. I'm a Democrat. I support the people, and I support the programs that we put forth here in Belmar for the people.
And me too.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of things that Matt suggests that I'll just say, Matt, that's not gonna work.
So it doesn't.
It's not gonna go. Let's not, he goes, you don't think so? No, don't bring it up. But if it's like, he said, maybe, you know, okay, I can go along with it a little bit, let's change it somewhat. And he does. He works with you.
That's the way it should
That's
be.
the way it
That's why
should
the
be.
council's great. That's why Belmar is where it is today.
Yes.
Because of you people.
That's why we have 97 new people moving into the
Yeah.
town.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Gene. Other questions, comments? Yes, Tom.
Tom Dilberger, 1000 River Road. After hearing that, I'd like to put forward maybe we should have a referendum on what to call you. Maybe Grand Wizard, Grand Cyclops,
One eye?
or something. Maybe we could put it on the ballot. Write-ins of different things, not El Duce, of course.
How goes one of my people?
It wasn't all bad. He made
Not
the
for my-
trains run on time.
He made the trains run on time, but that's about right.
Thank you, Tom. Yes, John.
Back to the beach replenishment. We're going to get sand, according to the paper, soon. Before the end of the year, they're going to start moving the sand around in Belmar. And as you say, this hazardous mitigation, we may not get that money, or down the line, it's in the future. Are we going to put a little mound of our own up with our new piece of equipment maybe? Because it's totally flat, and even, we're gonna raise the sand level, and we're gonna go out. Can we get a bump in there that maybe we put in?
That's exactly the plan. And part of
It
the
is,
reason why
but
we're
I would
going
feel a
to-
little safer, because right now it's like this, you know, and I'm Bradley's putting something in, Avon's putting something in. And congratulations to Bob, he's my best cop.
That's right.
He's my favorite.
We actually moved the bulldozer down to Ocean Ave today, so we have 2 of them down there. We are putting up the beach fence. We loaded up the trucks with beach fence. We're going to be starting that next week also. So as soon as we put up the fence, then we will be building.
But we are gonna at least get something of
We're
our
going to build
own.
up something there.
It's sort of scary just looking at it, it's so flat, knowing that sometimes that water does come all the way up to the boardwalk. So things like that. Thank you.
Well, since I do have such powerful position. I've actually decreed that it will be 85 and sunny for the rest of the year. As it was today. Yes, Mike?
Mike Seebeck, 110 Second Avenue. Mayor Joining Council, regarding what Jim brought up about that program, I guess in hearing it discussed this evening, I was unclear. That was a deferral program, not a revaluation program. So there was no net savings to anybody who participated. Is that what my understanding is to be of that?
It was a program that the governor started after Sandy to give certain homeowners relief. And it would lower your assessed value. So let's say it lowered it $60,000. Therefore, for your first quarter, second quarter, third quarter taxes, it would be lower. That $60,000 went back on, assuming your house was in the same condition as it was pre-Sandy. So, my house is the same as it was pre-Sandy. Brian's is, most people are. Some people aren't, which is unfortunate. And we're still working on getting those families back in their homes. But the idea is that it goes back to where it was before, and then you pay the taxes that were owed during that period.
So
November 1st. November 1st, yeah.
So the taxes are actually still due? I mean, what you're describing to me is a reduction in the assessed valuation.
Temporary reduction in assessed value.
Right.
And then
So that would result in a savings, not a deferment.
what goes back on, I believe, you just pay the taxes that were due for that time period. Right?
Or does it go back to the
Goes back to its
pre-tax level and start at that point with the assessed value at its pre-storm level?
We can find out,
Which-
we can ask Robin, because she's the one who would handle the money coming in.
Because if that's the
How would
case,
we-
then,
How would we make up that money in our budget? So I'll find out from Robin, because she put together the budget. Because it's my understanding that, our tax collections, we put in that there were gonna be reduction in the tax collections, because people aren't gonna be able to pay them, not that they're gonna be reduced for them. But we'll get an answer for you.
okay, because if that's the case, then that program should have resulted in a net savings to people, 3/4. And it sounds to me
Right, but
like,
then we would have had a reduction in our revenues for this year's
well, we
budget.
would have, because it sounds to me like it wasn't extended to that many people, so.
Well, if it was extended to one person, it would reduce our revenues, whether it's $500 or $500,000, it would reduce our revenues. But I don't think, but we'll find out from Robin. I don't believe our revenues were, I thought we anticipated a reduction, not because of that program, but because people weren't able to make the payments.
Well, who would I get an answer to that question from?
Robin,
Robin? So if I email Robin and ask her to describe that program and how it worked, and why we had a participation rate that was comparatively lower to the towns around us.
I don't think she'll be able to answer the second part, but she will be answering the first part, as far as how it affected the budget and what it did to their taxes due for the calendar year 2013.
Like, there's, I have a gentleman from the county who can answer all those questions.
Sure, do you have that information?
Matt Clark,
Okay.
732-431-7402. The way he explained it, it is a reduction in the property value, and you're taxed at that lower value until you repair your house. So, somebody gets wiped out, it could be thousands of dollars that can help them.
Okay. Yeah, because I'd like to know that, because that seems to me like a program that, people should have been made aware of, people should have participated in. I didn't have any damage myself, so I know I wouldn't be qualified, but, on behalf of the people who did, that's clearly something that should have been promoted, and people should have engaged, and that should have been incumbent upon the leadership of this town to see to it that people participated in a program like that, that resulted in savings.
Right, and again, people did know about it, that's why they did, and a lot of people like myself and Councilman Governor just elected not to.
Well, it sounds to me, again, I'm just judging by what I hear this evening, but it sounds to me like the county was very proactive and provided us a very lengthy list of eligible participants, and we turned around and.
But that wasn't really accurate, because
Okay.
it's based off aerial photos that we had people actually on the
And
ground.
it's not going to be the first night I've been accused of misinformation. The second question I have I'd like to pose it to various council members.
And it has to do with the pavilions. Is that on?
It's public comment, you can ask anything you want, it's just gotta go through the chair.
Okay. I would like to know from other council members other than yourself, Mayor Doherty, if you would propose a two-story restaurant with a capacity of 300, 350 people in the 8th and 13th locations, and the impact on the town that something like that would have with liquor license and stuff, what their thoughts would be in terms of.
Well, I can tell you that, I mean, I myself, I don't know what the other members of the council would do, but I would not favor something like that. A two-story building with a liquor license and 300-person restaurant on 8th Avenue. I wouldn't favor that. I don't know where you came up with that.
Well, in the course of the redevelopment plan, I noticed that when the petitions were announced, the message from the mayor was that we were scaling back the plan to 10th and the 5th Avenue pavilions, that we would only build 2. And I believe that's still the case because according to what I've seen from the actual plan that I got a copy of in terms of redevelopment, the other buildings are proposed to be developed privately. So the town is really essentially going to only build 2, and a private developer is going to be brought in to develop the other 2.
Well, there's no private developer that we're speaking with. All it does is, the nice thing about the redevelopment plan is many nice things, but one of them is it gives more tools for the council to really develop that property. But right now, there's no one I can tell you, myself or Colleen or anyone in town is talking to about redeveloping those properties. It gives you the opportunity to.
But they're on the table. I mean, they clearly would have been taken out of the redevelopment plan that was presented at the redevelopment planning meeting. If they were completely off the table, they would have been taken out of that plan, correct?
No, the planning board meeting, when you were there.
I was there.
And I think they said it 4 to 5 times, was to see if the plan conformed with the master plan intent. That's it.
The 4 buildings, not 2.
Whether it was 4, 2, 3, didn't matter.
Well,
The
that's
number didn't
me.
matter. No, I understand that, but it didn't matter to the planning board. It wasn't under the jurisdiction of how many buildings, just whether or not the plan itself conformed.
Believe me, I heard that explained numerous times, and I agree with you. But the fact of the matter is still, I'm asking about the fact that private development, what are we not going to accept? What is too much? 3 stories, casinos?
There, in light of the fact that there's 3 separate lawsuits regarding the redevelopment of the pavilion, and I know Mike is skirting the issue as you can.
Are you one of the plaintiffs?
I am.
So I recommend that you not answer this question. I appreciate Mike trying to skirt the issue, not talk about the lawsuit itself, but out of abundance of caution, with the lawsuits.
No, I shouldn't have actually.
It's 7.5 minutes though, so.
7.5 minutes, I guess I'm getting cut off. Well, I thank everyone for their time this evening.
Thank you. Ms. David.
I only need about 30 seconds. David Shack, 302 C Street. The reduction in property tax collections during that 9-month period that Mr. B was talking about, wasn't that supposed to be what the FEMA loan was to make up the difference? Isn't that what the FEMA loan was supposed to be for the reduction because of property devaluations?
Again, we'll have Robin answer that. It was the community disaster loan is for a whole slew of things. One of it was for the beach utility. Now, because we didn't have very good weather in June, our beach utility was short, so there was an opportunity for the reason why the money would be there. If we were short on taxes, let's say someone's house was destroyed and they just walked away, and then didn't do anything, and they owed us back taxes and just weren't going to pay, it would be used for that. If the property went from $1 million down to $100,000 and it stayed there for multiple years, it would be used for that.
But it could be used for this too.
But this one that was set up by the governor was more to give people relief in an interim period, not long term. FEMA money is used for all that.
But it was just for the period that their house was worth less than before, that they would pay less taxes. But then, once they fixed their houses, they didn't have to make up the difference. They just started paying the full tax again after that.
That we'll find out for you.
Okay. All right. I intended to go to DJ's on Saturday night, but I was just so sick, I figured, really, that was the last thing DJs needed at this point, was having their coughing all over the place and sneezing and stuff. So I missed going to that, and I really
You
didn't
guys
want
spreading
to.
the mumps, was that you?
No, I had actually mumps when I was a child, so that's what happened.
I just figured wrong accent.
So, but, no, but it was a really bad cold, and I figured I better not go there. So, but I still want to mail them a check, and I was wondering, is there like a fund or something, or an address that I could, what?
You've been promoted.
Councilman slash director, Mike Campbell about that.
Oh, okay, thank you. All right.
His title really is director.
Ted.
Oh, yeah, yes, ma'am. I said it was 25.
Angela Pfeiffer, 319 Fifth Avenue. It's great to see the lake finally coming back, and I know that there's still some work to do, but a couple of questions. There's some streetlights around the lake that are still out, specifically on North Lake Drive and C, where that roundabout is. And there's 2 houses there that are still not occupied, so there's no lights there. And with the days getting shorter, it's just kind of a little bit dangerous.
You're right. You know, I'll tell you, we've been having issues with JCP&L for a while. We have lights at Pina Plaza that are still out, I think, out of the 6 that are there. Also, the west side of Ocean Avenue, yeah, those are still out, and we're talking a year later. So JCP&L is a very difficult company to deal with. You know, New Jersey Natural Gas is much, much better. We'll stay on them, but it's challenging.
Yeah, I'm just concerned with that roundabout, the days getting shorter, kids are out, you know, it's just kind of dangerous. You're riding your bike and it gets a little,
Totally right. You're
gets a little
absolutely
crazy. And the other comment on the pavilion, I'm not going to get into the benefits, or I don't even want to get into that, but something to think about, assuming there is going to be a second story, okay? If there's a way that all of the residents can enjoy that second story, I know when I looked at the plan, it was going to be more of an open space and people could rent it out and things like that. But it's so great to be, I mean, look at the view that we have. It's pretty magnificent. If something to think about, assuming we do end up with a second story, would there be a way that residents would have access to it in the winter? Maybe to go up there and just be able to look out and see the ocean and...
Oh, absolutely, just like the old,
Okay.
just like the old town pavilion was. But yeah, you're right. I mean, imagine being on the second floor. I mean,
Exactly.
If you've been to the fishing club, like Councilwoman Nicolay over here.
I'm on the waiting list. I'm still waiting to
You
get
gotta
in.
talk to her. She's got some juice, you know.
Does she? Oh, okay. It's been 3 years, so if you have any pull, that would be great. Thank you.
But it really is a different. It really is different to be on the second floor overlooking the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, and it's something to think about, and I mean, if it's there, why not use it instead of
The only
using it?
problem I see is making it ADA compliant, because if there is a second floor, there has to be an elevator.
Right, but if there's going to be an elevator,
But
if there's a
the elevator
second...
will be indoors to protect it from the weather.
Right,
So during the winter, on a nice day, the building will be locked. And, I mean, if there was a way to get up there from the outside.
Well, I guess that's your question: is how do we
Get
staff so
access.
that it would be open on a day like today, right?
Yeah, you would love to go up there. That's a great idea.
even, we all have these days in January or February where, you know, the sun is out, who cares if it's 40 degrees or 30 degrees? I mean, let's face it, bottom line is it's ultimately going to be our money building this thing. Let's be able to enjoy it as much as we can, not just if we're renting the second floor out. I mean, I used to love sitting behind Taylor Pavilion. I mean,
If we had an elevator access to the outside, you can just imagine what people would do.
it would be pretty spectacular.
Yeah, but, you know.
Well, it just, all I'm saying is,
I understand.
think about either outdoor or indoor access. We've got a pretty magnificent view.
Yeah.
And I think
Let's
we would
not
probably
waste
go
it.
through indoor and figure it out with DPW. Yes.
Angela, I just want to encourage, if you could, because every additional comment about GCP&L that I get, I forward on to my reps there. So even a quick email to me.
You want an
in
email?
April, yeah, that'd be great, because I can just forward that right over to
Yeah,
GCP&L.
it's been a while.
Yeah,
I
Colleen's
mean,
email?
you know, the first couple of months, we kind of sucked it up, but we're going on a year now, it needs some lights.
No, it's
And especially that those houses are still empty. There's no lights on that corner,
Right.
okay?
And one just minor correction, the pavilions are going to be paid for as a combination from FEMA, some insurance money, and the heat utility money. It's not going to be Belmar
Right, but
residents.
as US citizens, we are FEMA, so it is our money. It's our money. There is no I mean, we are the government, so it's our money.
The government's closed right now.
That's right.
At least your municipal government's open. Yes, sir.
And you didn't want to let me come. Wayne Thielen, 15th Avenue, D Street. Like the lady said before about the lights, hi, Miss Becky.
How are you?
Good.
Good to see you.
About what they were saying about the lights on 15th and D Street, the light does not work, all right? That's part one. 29th, 30th, 31st of October, let it be out, because I do a Halloween thing. But I came to this town in 1968, and it's gone to hell. There's a drug problem in this town, something needs to be done about it. I watch a drug deal on the side of my house 3 to 4 times a day. Now, is the police gonna do something about this? Do I need to call the sheriff's department about this? Or do I need to revert back to my training from the military, take it upon myself, and then call an ambulance? What's gonna be done? I have a 16-year-old son. He's got 15, 16-year-old friends that come around the house. Kids are dying from heroin. A lady that lives around the corner from me is selling it on her bicycle. A woman who is in, I'm going to call him my son's pre-K class. I see her every morning dropping her son off. I see her every afternoon buying a rock. What's going to be done?
Well, I don't think you should take anything into your own hands, but we will let our police department know if you haven't already.
I have. I'm talking to Mike Campbell. I'm talking to Sean. I know a lot of the police officers here in town. From what I'm told, we know the actors. Okay, if you know the actors and you know the people who are doing this, why isn't something being done? Because us as residents, citizens of this town, something needs to be done. Taxpayer money, are we gonna let everything just overflow? Because if my son gets into it, and he's already told me, Dad, my friends do this, and he's already said it. If you're gonna do drugs, I'm not gonna be friends with you. Good for my son. But it's gonna happen, peer pressure. One of these jerks are going to give drugs to somebody in here, to one of their kids, grandkids, nephews, cousins, whatever, and then it's just all gonna break loose. Something's gotta be done.
We'll follow the police department, but that's their responsibility.
I mean, this is my first town hall meeting. I thought this was interesting. You're great. I like you. You're awesome. But something needs to be done. And either you guys got to do it, or we call Monmouth County Sheriff's Department. If we don't have the manpower, maybe the Sheriff's Department can come out here and set up surveillance. Because I have video, I have pictures. I've gone up to them and asked them if I can buy, and they asked me if I was a cop. And I was like, get out of my town. I can't do nothing about it. So, something needs to be done. That's all I got.
Very good issues.
Thank you. You wouldn't let me come. My father wouldn't let me come tonight.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Joy DeSanctis.
Oh, sure.
Joy DeSanctis, 101 6th Avenue. I want to really quickly address you and that very discourteous comment you made about Mr. Bean, who was so passionate and committed. It was shameful.
It was
I don't want to
passion
thank
that was
you.
extremely disrespectful to our business administrator. Beyond,
I also would
beyond
like-
disrespectful.
I also
Okay,
would
so
like-
if you're going to address me, I get to comment back. Okay?
I also would like to address the Silver Lake bond. I attended a meeting where you promised us, you said it was a competitive grant, that we were high up there, that you were waiting to do the regular bond ordinance because we were so online for it and we never got it. Do you know why?
I haven't got at it.
Right, but what I promised was that we would begin agree. But we should try to get the money, and at some point, it'll come to a conclusion where we're not gonna get it, we're just gonna have to bond for ourselves. And, now the residents of the borough of Belmar are gonna be responsible for that $1.87 million, whatever it was, of bonds. We're gonna still continue to look at, outside of FEMA, DEP and some other state agencies for funding to pay down the debt before it turns into a long-term bond.
Okay, but granted, all of this, we're online, we're applying, we're in a good position. Really, there's no guarantee of any of this funding relative to any of the grants we apply for.
Correct.
Okay. I understood. Governor, how are you?
Fine.
Okay. I know that you're running for office this year, so I was wondering if you know what our total bond debt is in the town? Even an approximate?
Well,
Approximately?
I know at the beginning of the year, at one point it was like $43 million, but most of that was tied into the storm. And as FEMA pays us back, it comes down. Before that, it was around $18 million. That's not what you just showed me.
You believe our total bond debt is $18 million? Currently?
No, in other words,
I'm sorry.
before the storm.
No, I'm just talking right now.
No, it's up around $43 million, if I believe, it might be. You know what, we just passed another $5 million, so it might be up $46 million.
Are you referring to the ordinance 2013-11, the $4,761,000 for
That's
the
close to
brown?
$5 million.
Is that the brown water one that I can just easily refer to so we know what
We
we're
can
talking about?
easily refer to it, sure.
Okay, so if I gave you a figure of $48,250,746,
And
would
can you
that?
tell me how much of that is based on how much we had to incur because of the storm?
I can tell you exactly
I
what
thought
every
you
dollar
could.
represents. Okay, I really don't want to belabor this because.
Oh, you just did.
I think you want to believe it.
There's a lot of figures here. So what I really want to speak to is the debt budget year ending 2012, which was $39,804,126. We did get a FEMA reimbursement, several, I have them outlined. They total about $16,000. I added to that the current 2013 bond debt, which is $25,438,084.
Or are you talking about millions?
$25,438,084. Okay, what I want to talk about really is not all of this because it's a lot of numbers and I'm here holding a piece of paper and you don't know whether it's a documented valid or anything.
Or if it's valid, right?
I said it.
But that's not, they get valid.
So if we backed out the subject $7 million for the pavilions, and I don't want to speak to that because I'm involved in it, but let's say it just disappeared, and we were only talking about the $41 million left, or the $43 million that you think we're currently in debt for, how are we going to pay that?
FEMA's going to reimburse us, I believe, for much of that storm cost that we incurred because of the storm.
And
And
that
then we're
would
coming
be-
down?
I'm sorry, and that storm would be under which ordinance? Just give me an idea so I can locate it.
You give me the number.
Well, FEMA's not going to pay us for the marina repairs. That was
I think
$3,800,000.
FEMA, the repairs, come on, yes.
I think
FEMA is
I think-
going to
no,
pay us for the
We did get
repairs.
that. You're saying we're going to get
But
more?
you just said they're not.
I meant to say what was
Don't
left
tell me
over.
what you meant to say, tell me what you did say.
Okay,
You said we weren't going to get it from the marina, and we are.
we got money from FEMA for the marina. Are we
How
expecting?
much?
These are figures really you should know, and you shouldn't be jumping
Well, you have
down.
them right there in front of you. I mean, you put me at a disadvantage. Why couldn't you call me up and tell me you were going to ask me these questions tonight?
Nobody returns my calls.
You never called me, did you?
No, I did not call.
Okay, there's your answer.
How come you didn't return the call?
You never called me.
Oh.
You're trying to shoot me down right up here in front of everybody. Go ahead.
Almost $2 million.
Tapes are-
Almost $2 million.
We already received. We borrowed 38, $3,800,000. Do you think we will be getting any more FEMA reimbursement?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. How about the capital portions prior to emergency appropriations, 1,600,000? We're going to be getting any FEMA reimbursement for that?
Which capital improvements are you talking about?
All I can identify it by is the ordinance, capital portions of prior emergency appropriations in the amount of $1,640,000. Ordinance 2013-05, if you have a computer, April, maybe you could look it up and offer.
Well, if you want, I'm sure if you leave this, either Councilman Governor or the business administrator can get you the information you're looking for. But I don't know if this is really a useful process to try to go line by line when you don't really have the ordinance in front of you.
You can even take $20 million off of this $40 million debt and just tell me how we're going to pay for it. Let's say we're going to get $20 million, I'll give you that. How are we going to pay for it?
Well, we're at 7 minutes, we're going to give somebody